Another Russian mercenary group shows discontent with the Kremlin, a sign of more to come.
Here's a summary of the article.
This key advance coincided with a Russian mercenary group's threat to stop fighting on Russia's behalf on the front lines of the village and could be a sign of more anti-Kremlin sentiment brewing among those fighting for Moscow. Just a few days earlier, fighters from Rusich, a small Russian neo-Nazi paramilitary group stationed at Robotyne's frontline, had threatened to lay down their arms, a move that may have contributed to Russia's stinging loss there. Petrovsky, a dual Russian-Norwegian national, co-founded Rusich back in 2014 to take part in the Russian occupation of Donbass and is believed to have been a contractor for the Wagner Group at one point. According to the Institute for the Study of War, the group did indeed seem to be operating near Robotyne in western Zaporizhia Oblast, describing it as a critical area of the front line where the Russian military command likely cannot afford for any units to rebel and refuse to conduct combat missions. Hahn said the reason for a revolt would likely have less to do with the detention of the group's leader than with a loss of motivation among Russian mercenary fighters in general, coupled with Moscow's increasing inability to keep them under control. Following the group's botched mutiny, however, and Moscow's subsequent attempts to try to dissolve the group, the working conditions for Prigozhin's militia collective in Ukraine worsened. It wouldn't surprise me if some of these guys repent and suddenly join the Free Russian Legion, especially if they're getting paid in dollars, he said, referring to a group of pro-Kiev Russian fighters that claim to have staged several attacks in Russia's Belgorod region in recent months.
This post received a score of 5,000, with an upvote ratio of 98%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Well, only go for it if you guys don't do it half-assed like Priggy. And talk is cheap.
Putin killing Piggy was a clear message to anyone that may try, that they can't back down once they start. The next group to try will not compromise or negotiate.
And hopefully they will think ahead and move family to avoid them being used as pawns.
Hopefully this all happens and is successful, but I'm not sure those types of guys running the country would be much better.
Putin has ensured there's almost no one to inherit it after him. Whether now or after he dies, I doubt there's anyone that will be good for Russia or the world due to this. No one with power currently in Russia is a good candidate. We can only hope they see Putin's failures for what they are and change course.
There is immense irony in Putin, someone who desperately wants to be seen as a master of realpolitik, forgetting maybe the greatest lesson Machiavelli brought to 16th century European politics. Before Machiavelli wrote The Prince, his claim to fame was repeatedly defeating some of the most expensive mercenary armies in Europe with his army of citizen soldiers raised in defense of the Florentine Republic. His greatest contribution to European politics of his era was demonstrative proof that the mercenary system of warfare popular at the time was inferior to a standing army of citizens motivated to defend their state, and that the form of governance most capable of raising such a force was the Republic.
Greater than fighters from Rusich, a small Russian neo-Nazi paramilitary group. Ironic.
Greater than Rusich, a small Russian neo-Nazi paramilitary group. I wonder what mental hoops these guys have to jump through in order to explain away the fact that Nazism was vehemently anti-Slav.
You don't really want to know through which hoops Milchikov jumped. Personally, I stopped on fact that pre-Rusich he take bunch of photos of homeless dogs, then murder them again with photos and doing shashlik from them. Also there is retcon in Russian neo-Nazism, whole idea of which is that Germans actually feel Slavs as almost equal, otherwise stuff like Vlasiv army wouldn't happen, so they aren't untermensch that they're mental gymnastics.
It's pretty much a given that only sociopaths and idiots would subscribe to Nazism in this day and age. So mutilating dogs, and eating them, doesn't surprise me. But this fact you bring up compounds the irony. Hitler loved dogs. Alive.
Just ally with the other mercs and throw a coup. Get this shit over and done with already. Then Ukraine can move on and rebuild.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.